I'm really excited in 2000s going forward that we talk about diversity and females in film, but I feel like the interactive gaming world has thrust women into the roles of partner, a warrior, not just a princess. And as a woman, it's been empowering to see and imagine myself in these roles, and I think it's only going to be better. I think the gaming industry gets kind of maligned sometimes about women, but as a woman who's playing in games, like the last few years, these roles that they're writing for us are inspiring AF.
And also all the non-binary characters, LGBTQ characters, it's really cool. Like there's so many, everybody is represented, I feel, now in this medium.
And to me, it makes me proud of the community as well, because the developers do have to take that risk and go there, but they do it partially with the support, and the enthusiasm of the gaming community. So I think it's also representative and indicative of, the growth of the gamers out there as well.
And actually, that's something I hadn't thought about, but gaming has been much quicker to embrace LGBT characters than, say, the big budget movies. I mean, you see them on TV, but you don't see it a lot in the big budget superhero movies. What do you think that says about gaming? Do you think that one affects the other in terms of how it evolves?
That's a great question. I think we're still in a big process of evolution on all sides. I think the great thing about video gaming is there is a younger generation primarily. I mean, there's a lot of different generations that play games. I wouldn't want to stereotype and just say young people play games, but I think that generation and the evolution of the generations that are coming up are embracing different things. So I think it's maybe an easier move to introduce, I don't think it's because that's not correct, but maybe to take on showing different, I feel like I'm messing this question up, but hopefully you're understanding what I'm saying.
Well, going back to the gaming side of things a second, all of you have played games with a very narrative focus, allows you to play some really interesting characters, but you've also performed in games where it's more online focused, more like the battle royales and those kinds of things. Is it harder as an actor to do those roles where you're just doing little snippets rather than a full scene? Would you prefer to do roles that have, a more depth to it in terms of like long cutscenes, or would you prefer to be part of the context-sensitive dialogue that comes out in the multiplayer? Elizabeth, let's start with you. What do you think?
Gosh, I mean, I would honestly say that they're both challenging in their own ways. I feel like the depth and the attention to story that a lot of AAA video games are giving their narrative and their cutscenes rivals feature films that I've worked on in terms of the script and the rehearsal process and the character development. So that is challenging and fulfilling in its own way as an actor. But sometimes I find almost the kind of like online, slightly out of context characters to be even more difficult, because you're working with a lot of stuff out of context and having to really big impact and a really big character statement in a short amount of time and with less dialogue. I haven't worked on any online games nearly as popular as like Apex Legends or Fortnite, but I do a lot of, if anybody's played like Smite or Paladins, I do a lot of characters in there. And that can almost be harder in a way, because you have to give the developer every possible sound that could come out of the character's mouth without context. So you have to do these grab bags of sounds where you're like, okay, let's get some grunts. We need some angry grunts. We need some bored grunts. We need some dismissive grunts. And you've got to make them character specific.
Now I'm visualizing a dismissive grunt. There you go. Mel?
Well, I think all of the jobs are awesome, but I think they appeal to different. Yeah, they appeal to different parts of you. Like I've been in roles just like with Elizabeth, where you're an 8-year-old. It's a director's medium. They're describing a world to you because everything's NDA. So oftentimes you don't even get artwork, and it's just this playground, and you get to die and be badass and cry and weep and make noises that you have to tap into your 7 or 8-year-old self that's like, whatevs. And then the story, there's a few games recently that have come out. The stories are hundreds of pages, and you guys remember those books that you know flip here and now they do it online, but you have these different I'm a maths person, so you have different coefficients and you put it in and you have an alternate reality or finish and completion. And so the nerd in me is just fascinated by the different storylines and getting to explore the dark and light of yourself as a character. So I'm really fascinated by that process, but as a voice actress, I think we won the lottery, and it's an extraordinary job.
Doing a voice and not know what the character looks like sometimes?
I didn't know what Lifeline looked like. And I don't know if I didn't see any of the concept art until the day they released. So there was a kind of an idea, they had little sketches, but the full concept art, we were, as actors, just as interested in the release of Apex Legends as you guys were. We were just combing through it and hearing the lines put together. And when you're doing the action lines, they're trying to describe it to you without letting you know where you are. So you just have to trust the director. And they're like, this is sort of urgent. And to see it all put together is pretty. Again, it's my 8-year-old self going, oh my gosh, this is so cool. You're trying to be cool about it, like, yeah, I'm Lifeline, but I'm still like, oh my gosh, that's me. Or it's the total geek moment.
It's really not uncommon at all to audition for, do callbacks for, and get cast in a video game without having any concept of what the game is or who the character actually is. Yep. Because the NDAs are so intense.
I'm about to start a game next week. I have no idea what it is. Like a huge game. I'm booked for like 5 months. I have no idea what I'm doing.
So do they give you at least a hint of like, well, they're going to have maybe this kind of an accent or this kind of an attitude, or is it just more of like, you've read for these 3 different roles, one of them will definitely be you?
For me, I generally play the token Brit, so I know what they want me for.
Yeah, usually, I mean, they will give you a character description. It's generally not the description of the actual character, but similar in some sort of respect. They'll get, similar qualities. And usually, if you're doing an accent, they